Congratulations, Your Majesty. Those words echo in my ears as I stand frozen outside the grand hall doors, my breath catching in my throat. In my trembling hands is a medical report. Positive. I'm pregnant. Nelson's child grows inside me, a living testament to what I thought was our love. But this joy crumbles before it can even settle when I peer through the slightly open doorway. There, standing before the throne, is Nelson, my Alpha King, my everything, and beside him stands another Omega, tall, graceful, with perfect aristocratic features that seem carved from marble. His name is Harry. I've heard whispers about him in the palace corridors. Nelson smiles at him, that same devastating smile that once belonged only to me. The entire court erupts in applause. The elders wear expressions of satisfied approval. And me? I'm here, invisible, a secret nobody acknowledges. This marriage is essential for the kingdom's future. Nelson's voice carries through the hall, heavy with diplomatic authority. Harry comes from a powerful lineage. This alliance will secure our borders and strengthen our position among the neighboring territories. Pain slices through my chest like a blade, sharp and unforgiving. Alliance? Then what was I? What did our nights together mean? Those endless evenings when Nelson held me close, whispering promises against my skin, swearing I was his world. Were they all lies? Was I just a convenient body to satisfy his heat cycles? I stumble backward, clutching the medical report against my chest before shoving it deep into my jacket pocket. My heart pounds so violently, I fear it might burst. Without thinking, I turn and flee from the palace entrance. The guards don't even glance my way. Nobody ever does. I'm just Ray, the nobody, son of a servant who lived on the Alpha King's charity. I never dared dream I could be his official partner. But that night 3 months ago, when he marked me with his teeth, claiming me as his in the most primal way possible, I believed maybe, just maybe, I could be something more than a shadow. Now the truth crashes down. I was nothing but a mistake he made in the heat of passion. By nightfall, I've packed everything that matters. A few changes of clothes, some money I'd been secretly saving from odd jobs around the palace, and this damning medical report. These meager possessions represent all I have left. I slip out through the back gate during the guard shift change, timing my escape perfectly. Rain begins falling, cold drops soaking through my thin jacket as I walk along the empty road. Each step feels heavier than the last, each breath laden with grief. Once I turn back to look at the palace, the place I foolishly called home. The towering spires pierce the storm clouds, illuminated by lightning. It looks alien now, foreign, like a castle from someone else's fairy tale. Goodbye, Nelson, I whisper into the darkness, my voice lost in the rain. You'll never even know what you've lost. And I disappear into the night, alone, pregnant, and utterly heartbroken. My hands instinctively move to my stomach, where new life has begun growing. A life that may never know its father. The rain intensifies as I walk toward the bus station at the edge of the city. My clothes cling to my skin and I'm shivering, but I can't stop moving. If I stop, I'll collapse. If I collapse, I might never get up again. The bus station is nearly empty at this hour, just a few weary travelers seeking shelter from the storm. I purchase a one-way ticket to Riverton, a small town I've only heard about in passing. It's far enough away that nobody will find me, small enough that I can disappear completely. As I sit in the cold plastic chair waiting for my bus, I pull out the medical report one last time. The words blur through my tears. Pregnancy confirmed. Estimated gestation 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, Nelson held me in his private chambers, his scent wrapping around me like a protective cocoon. He traced patterns on my skin and murmured about futures I was foolish enough to believe in. I love you, he'd said that night, his amber eyes intense in the candlelight. No matter what happens, remember that. What a cruel joke those words have become. The bus arrives with a hiss of air brakes and spray of rainwater. I climb aboard, finding a seat at the very back where I can curl against the window. As the bus pulls away from everything I've ever known, I watch the palace lights grow smaller in the distance until they're just pinpricks. Then nothing at all. The journey takes hours through winding mountain roads and sleepy villages. Other passengers doze around me, but sleep won't come. My mind replays every moment with Nelson, searching for signs I missed, warnings I ignored. Was there ever a time when he truly loved me, or was I always just convenient? A warm body in his bed until someone more suitable came along. My hand rests on my stomach, feeling for changes that aren't yet visible. I'm sorry, I whisper to the tiny life growing there. I'm sorry your father is too coward to fight for us. I'm sorry you'll grow up without knowing him. But I promise you this, I'll love you enough for both of us. You'll never feel unwanted the way I did. The bus finally pulls into Riverton as dawn breaks, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The town is nothing like the grand capital I left behind. Small shops line modest streets, and there's a simplicity here that feels almost healing. I step off the bus with my single bag and breathe in air that doesn't carry memories of Nelson. This is my fresh start. This is where I'll build a life for myself and my child, far from palace politics and broken promises. As I walk down the main street searching for somewhere cheap to stay, I make myself a vow. I will survive this. I will be strong. And someday when my child asks about their father, I'll find the right words to explain why we're better off without him. But first I need to figure out how to make it through today. 3 months have passed since that rainy night when I fled the palace. Now I live in Riverton, a town so different from my former life that sometimes my past feels like a distant dream. But when my belly flutters with movement, reality comes rushing back. This baby is real. Nelson's child, mine alone now. I found work at a small diner called Maple's Corner, tucked between a laundromat and a second-hand bookstore. The pay barely covers rent for my tiny studio apartment, but the tips help, and I've learned to stretch every dollar. My days blur together. Morning shifts, serving coffee and pancakes to sleepy truckers. Afternoon lulls when I clean tables and restock supplies. Evening rushes when families come in for dinner. It's honest work, simple work, and nobody asks questions about where I came from or why I'm here. The owner, Mrs. Hemsworth, is a kind woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and eyes that see too much. She noticed my condition during my interview but hired me anyway. Everyone deserves a second chance, she'd said, patting my hand. I didn't correct her assumption that I was running from a bad situation. I suppose, in a way, I was. My apartment sits above a mechanic's shop, and the smell of motor oil seeps through the floorboards. But it's mine. The furniture consists of a second-hand mattress on the floor, a wobbly table with 2 mismatched chairs, and a mini fridge that hums loudly through the night. I've tried making it homey with cheap curtains from the dollar store and a few plants that stubbornly refuse to die despite my neglect. At 4 months pregnant, my belly has become impossible to hide. I've given up trying to conceal it with baggy clothes and instead wear the loose dresses Mrs. Hemsworth gifted me. The regular customers have started treating me gently, as if pregnancy makes me fragile. Old Miss Peterson always leaves extra tips and tells terrible dad jokes. The Henderson family asks how I'm feeling every Tuesday when they come in after church. Their kindness makes my chest ache with longing for something I can't name. This morning starts like any other. I tie my apron, check my station, and unlock the front door just as the sun crests the horizon. The bell above the door chimes cheerfully when the first customer enters, a stranger I haven't seen before. He's tall with blonde hair that catches the morning light, and there's something gentle about the way he moves. His scent reaches me immediately. Sweet like jasmine, calming like chamomile tea. Another Omega, I realize, recognizing the telltale markers of our designation. Good morning, he says with a warm smile. I'm Rowan, just moved here last week. Ray, I reply, grabbing my notepad. What can I get you? Coffee black and your pancakes look amazing. I'll take a stack. As I write down his order, he settles into the corner booth, pulling out a worn paperback. Something about him radiates peace, a contentment I haven't felt in so long I've almost forgotten what it's like. When I bring his coffee, he thanks me with genuine appreciation, not the dismissive politeness I'm used to from most customers. You seem new here too, he observes as I set down his cup. Haven't seen you around town much. Came a few months back, I answer carefully, keeping my tone neutral. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. Rowan doesn't push for more information. He simply nods, understanding somehow that I'm not ready to share my story. We chat briefly about Riverton's quirks, the farmer's market on Saturdays, the library's terrible hours, the way everyone seems to know everyone else's business. His laugh is infectious, and I find myself relaxing despite my usual wariness. When he pays his bill, he leaves a generous tip and scribbles something on his receipt. "My number," he explains, "in case you ever want to grab coffee sometime. Being new in town can be lonely." After he leaves, I stare at those digits for a long time. It's been so long since anyone offered friendship without expecting something in return. Part of me wants to crumple the paper and throw it away, to maintain the walls I've built around myself. But another part, the part that's tired of being alone, carefully tucks it into my apron pocket. The rest of my shift passes in the usual blur of orders and small talk. When I finally clock out and drag myself up the stairs to my apartment, exhaustion hits me like a physical weight. My feet ache, my back throbs, and the baby seems determined to press against my bladder constantly. I collapse onto my mattress without bothering to change clothes. One hand rests on my growing belly, feeling the subtle movements of the life inside. "We're doing okay," I tell my unborn child, trying to convince myself as much as them. "We've got a roof over our heads, food to eat, and we're safe. That's what matters." But as darkness falls and silence fills my small apartment, the loneliness creeps back in. I wonder what Nelson is doing right now. Is he married to Harry yet? Do they share the same bed where he once held me? Does he ever think about me, or have I been completely erased from his memory? I grab my old phone from the nightstand, the one I kept despite knowing I should throw it away. My fingers hover over the power button. I shouldn't look. I know checking news from the capital will only hurt, but I can't help myself. The screen illuminates, and I navigate to the royal news site. Headlines about trade agreements and diplomatic visits fill the page. Then I see it, buried halfway down. Royal wedding preparations continue despite setbacks. So it's still happening. Nelson and Harry's perfect union, the alliance that's more important than what we had. My throat tightens, and I force myself to click away before I can read more. I should delete all these bookmarks, throw this phone in the trash, cut myself off from that world completely, but I can't quite bring myself to sever that last thread connecting me to my past. Maybe because as much as I hate Nelson for choosing duty over love, part of me still hopes he'll realize his mistake, that he'll search for me, that— "Stop it," I mutter aloud, angry at myself. "He made his choice. You made yours. Move forward." I place both hands on my belly, feeling my baby's reassuring movements. "You're my future now," I whisper. Not him. Never him again. But as I drift toward uneasy sleep, Nelson's face haunts my dreams, and I wake more exhausted than when I lay down. Rowan becomes a regular fixture at Maple's Corner over the following weeks. He arrives most mornings, always ordering the same black coffee and pancakes, always leaving generous tips. Gradually, our brief exchanges evolve into actual conversations. He tells me about his work as a freelance graphic designer, about growing up in a small coastal town, about his love for terrible reality TV shows. In turn, I share carefully edited versions of my own story, that I moved here for a fresh start, that I'm expecting a baby, that the father isn't in the picture. His loss, Rowan says simply when I mention this last part, and the sincerity in his voice makes my eyes prick with unexpected tears. Today feels different from the moment Rowan walks through the door. He's not alone. Beside him stands an alpha who radiates protective energy, broad-shouldered and sharp-featured, with dark eyes that constantly scan the diner as if assessing potential threats. The way Rowan leans into him speaks volumes about their relationship even before introductions are made. "Ray, this is Asher," Rowan says as they approach my station, his hand linked with the alpha's. "My mate. Asher, this is Ray, the friend I've been telling you about." Asher's handshake is firm but not crushing, his smile genuine. "Nice to finally meet you. Rowan hasn't stopped talking about your kindness since he moved here." Something twists in my chest as I watch them together, jealousy mixed with longing. They have what I thought I had with Nelson, the easy intimacy, the unspoken understanding, the certainty that they belong together. It's beautiful and painful to witness. "What can I get you both?" I ask, pulling out my notepad to hide my emotional reaction. They order and I busy myself with their food, hyper aware of their quiet conversation in the corner booth. When I return with their plates, Rowan's expression has shifted to something more serious. Ray, he begins hesitantly, glancing at Asher for support. I hope this doesn't overstep, but do you have a support system here? Family nearby? Friends who can help when the baby comes? I freeze, my hand still holding his plate. How much has he figured out? I'm managing fine on my own, I reply, perhaps more defensively than intended. I'm sure you are, Asher interjects smoothly, his tone non-confrontational. But pregnancy shouldn't be faced alone, especially without the father around. Rowan and I want to help if you'll let us. The offer catches me completely off guard. These people barely know me. Why would they care? We know what it's like to feel isolated. Rowan continues, reading the confusion on my face. When I first presented as Omega, my family kicked me out. I spent 2 years completely alone before finding Asher. I wouldn't wish that loneliness on anyone, especially someone about to become a parent. His vulnerability cracks something inside me. I appreciate the offer, I manage, my voice unsteady, but I don't want to be anyone's charity case. It's not charity, Asher says firmly. It's community. That's what we do, we look out for each other. When I was injured last year and couldn't work, 3 families I barely knew brought us meals for weeks. That's how small towns work. You help because it's the right thing to do. Tears blur my vision and I quickly excuse myself to the kitchen, pretending I need to check on another order. Mrs. Hemsworth finds me there, wiping my eyes with my apron. Those boys offering to help? She asks knowingly. I nod, not trusting my voice. Good. Let them. Pride's all well and good, Ray. But that baby in your belly needs you healthy and supported. Accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. By the time I return to their table, I've composed myself. Okay, I tell them quietly. I could use some help. Doctor's appointments are difficult to get to without a car. Rowan's face lights up. Perfect. Give me your number and we'll coordinate. And listen, Asher and I are hosting a small dinner party next Saturday. Nothing fancy, just a few friends. You should come. I hesitate. Social gatherings mean questions, and questions mean potentially revealing things I'm not ready to share. But the loneliness has been eating at me, and the thought of an evening with friendly faces is too tempting to refuse. I'll try, I promise, taking the slip of paper with Rowan's address. The rest of my shift passes in a strange haze. For the first time since arriving in Riverton, I feel less alone. Like maybe I can build something here, not just a life, but a home. That evening, back in my apartment, I allow myself to feel hopeful. Maybe this town, these people can be my fresh start. Maybe I don't need Nelson or his grand palace, or his empty promises. Maybe my phone buzzes, interrupting these thoughts. The old phone, the one connected to my previous life. I haven't checked it in days, deliberately avoiding the temptation. But curiosity wins, and I swipe the screen open. The headline makes my heart stop. Alpha King Nelson's royal wedding postponed. Omega groom Harry hospitalized due to mysterious illness. I read the article 3 times, my mind racing. Harry is sick, suddenly and severely enough to postpone the wedding? The timing seems too convenient. Too suspicious. The article provides few details, only mentioning that Harry collapsed during wedding preparations and remains under medical observation. My hands shake as I scroll through related stories. Some speculate about political intrigue, others suggest Harry might be withdrawn from the arrangement. One tabloid even hints at complications with the Alpha King's emotional state. What does that mean? Is Nelson struggling with the marriage? Or is this just sensationalist garbage designed to sell papers? I should throw the phone away. I should delete every app connecting me to that world. But instead, I find myself searching for more information, desperate for any clue about what's happening. The palace has released no official FIML beyond the wedding postponement. Nelson hasn't made any public appearances in weeks. Is he looking for me? Does he even know I'm gone? No, I can't let myself go down this path. Nelson made his choice when he announced his engagement to Harry in front of the entire court. Whatever's happening now doesn't change the fact that he chose political alliance over genuine love. But as I lie in bed that night, staring at my apartment's water-stained ceiling, I can't shake the feeling that everything is about to change. That the fragile peace I've built here is temporary, that my past is rushing toward me like a storm I can't outrun. My baby kicks, as if sensing my distress, and I place both hands over my belly. "It's okay," I murmur. "Whatever happens, I'll keep you safe. That's all that matters now." But even as I say the words, doubt creeps in. Can I really keep us hidden if Nelson decides to search? And more terrifying, do I even want to stay hidden? 1 week after reading that headline, I'm standing behind the diner taking out trash bags when everything changes. My shift ended 10 minutes ago, and the night air carries an autumn chill that makes me pull my thin cardigan tighter. At 5 months pregnant, my belly is unmistakable now, round and prominent even under loose clothing. I've stopped trying to hide it. Here in Riverton, nobody knows my history. Nobody judge. Ray, that voice. That damned voice that haunts my dreams and nightmares alike. I turn slowly, the garbage bag slipping from my nerveless fingers to hit the pavement with a dull thud. Standing under the flickering streetlight is Nelson, my alpha king. He wears a black coat over what looks like hastily thrown on clothes. His usually immaculate hair disheveled and falling across his forehead. Dark circles shadow his eyes, and stubble covers his jaw as if he hasn't shaved in days. He looks exhausted, desperate, and heartbreakingly beautiful. "How did you—" My voice comes out as barely more than a whisper, shock stealing my breath. "I've spent 3 months searching every corner of the kingdom for you." His words crack with raw emotion. "Every city, every town, every village. Do you have any idea what your disappearance did to me? The palace fell into chaos. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't focus on anything except finding you. I was losing my mind, Ray. So what?" I force myself to sound cold. "To resurrect the protective walls I've built. You're getting married, aren't you? Harry is your perfect match. The elders approved. Everything is arranged exactly as they wanted." The wedding was canceled. Nelson takes a step closer, and I instinctively back away. His scent hits me, pine and rain, the smell that once made me feel safe and cherished. Harry withdrew from the engagement himself. He could see that I was destroying myself over losing you. He told me he wouldn't marry someone whose heart belonged to another person. "You're lying," I accuse, feeling tears threaten. "This is too much, too sudden. You're only here now because guilt is eating at you. You abandoned me, Nelson. You chose someone else right in front of me, in front of the entire court. It was the worst mistake of my entire life," he says, and I'm shocked to see tears actually forming in his eyes. Nelson never cries. I've never seen him show this kind of vulnerability. "I was weak. The elders pressured me constantly, saying your bloodline wasn't suitable, that you were just a servant's son, that the kingdom needed a stronger alliance. I convinced myself that choosing duty was the honorable thing to do. But when you vanished, when I searched your room and found it empty, I finally understood that nothing matters without you. It's too late." I wrap my arms protectively around myself, unconsciously shielding my belly. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." He reaches for my hand, desperation clear in every movement. "Please, just tell me why you left so suddenly. Did something happen that I don't know about? I need to understand. I want to bring you home where you belong, Ray. With me." I look at him, really look at him, and consider telling the truth. But fear holds my tongue. What if he sees the baby as just another responsibility? Another political tool? What if this child becomes just another burden in his complicated royal life? I can't explain, I manage, my voice shaking despite my efforts to stay strong. "Just leave me alone, Nelson. Go live your life. I'll live mine." But Nelson has always been observant. Always noticed details others miss. His gaze drops from my face to my midsection, where my jacket does little to conceal the obvious curve of pregnancy. His face goes completely pale, all color draining away. His breathing stops. "Ray." He stares, pointing with a trembling hand, words failing him completely. You're carrying a child?" And in that moment, my entire world shifts again. There's no hiding anymore, no running. The truth stands between us, as undeniable as my swollen belly. The silence stretches endlessly. I watch various emotions play across Nelson's face. Shock, confusion, realization, and then something that looks dangerously like hope. My heart pounds so hard I think it might break through my ribs. "Answer me," he finally whispers, his voice breaking. "Please, Ray. Is it mine?" I should lie. I should protect myself and this baby from potential heartbreak. But I'm so tired of running, so exhausted from carrying this secret alone. Yes, I admit, the word coming out on a sob. Yes, it's yours. Nelson staggers backward as if I've physically struck him, his hand going to the brick wall for support. How long have you known? I found out the same day you announced your engagement to Harry. The confession pours out of me now, unstoppable. I was coming to tell you. I had the test results in my hand when I heard the congratulations. Saw you standing there with him. Heard you talk about alliances and security. So I left. What else could I do? You could have told me. His voice rises, anguished. You should have told me. Why? I shoot back, anger finally overriding fear. So you could feel obligated? So I could watch you choose duty over us again? So my child could grow up knowing their father was ashamed of them? Ashamed? Nelson looks genuinely horrified. Ray, I could never. You were ashamed of me, I interrupt, my voice hard. Ashamed that I wasn't good enough for your court, your elders, your precious kingdom. Why would this baby be any different? He closes the distance between us in 2 long strides, grasping my shoulders gently but firmly. Listen to me very carefully. I was a coward. I let others dictate my choices because I was too weak to fight for what I wanted. But these 3 months without you have been hell. I've barely functioned. Harry saw it. Everyone saw it. And now you're telling me that I have a child, that you've been carrying this burden alone while I was too blind and stupid to realize what I'd lost. Nelson, no, let me finish. His hands move to cup my face, forcing me to meet his intense gaze. If you give me another chance, I swear I will spend the rest of my life making this right. I'll fight the elders. I'll change the laws. I'll burn the entire kingdom down if that's what it takes to keep you and our child safe and acknowledged. You can't just. I can and I will, he insists fiercely. Come back with me, not as a secret or a shame, but as my official mate. Our child will be recognized as my heir, publicly and legally, and if the elders refuse, then I'll abdicate the throne. We'll leave and start over somewhere else. I stare at him in disbelief. You would give up being king? Without hesitation, he says simply. Ray, I've learned that power means nothing without love. Wealth means nothing without happiness. I was miserable on that throne without you. This child, our child, matters more to me than any crown. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Through my tears, I see it's Rowan calling. I answer, turning slightly away from Nelson. I saw him arrive. Rowan says quietly, That's your alpha, isn't it? Whatever you decide, Ray, remember that you have friends here. Asher and I will protect you if you use too. But also remember that baby deserves a father who wants them. And from what I can see from my window, that man looks like he wants to fight the world for you. After hanging up, I turn back to Nelson. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, he says, though desperation edges his voice. But please, at least let me stay nearby. Let me prove that I've changed. I look at this man who broke my heart, who now stands before me broken himself. Can people really change? Can trust be rebuilt? And more importantly, am I brave enough to try? There's a motel 2 blocks from here, I finally say. Wait there. I'll give you my answer tomorrow. I don't sleep at all that night. Instead, I pace my tiny apartment, one hand constantly resting on my belly where the baby Nelson's baby kicks occasionally, as if sensing my turmoil. Every time I close my eyes, I see his face. The desperation, the tears, the raw vulnerability I never thought Nelson capable of showing. By dawn, I've made lists of pros and cons, imagined every possible outcome, and cried until no more tears will come. The apartment feels suffocating, so I grab my jacket and head out into the early morning streets. Riverton is just waking up, shopkeepers opening their doors, the bakery releasing the scent of fresh bread, the newspaper delivery truck making its rounds. My feet carry me to the small park near the town square. I sit on a bench, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and orange. This town has been good to me, safe, simple, but is simple enough for my child? Don't they deserve to know their father, their heritage? Thought I might find you here. I look up to see Rowan approaching, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He sits beside me, handing me one. Decaf, Don't worry. How did you know where I was? Mrs. Hemsworth mentioned you like to come here when you're thinking. He takes a sip of his coffee. So, have you decided? How can I? The question bursts out of me. How do I trust him again after what he did? How do I know he won't change his mind when the reality of having a low-born worker as his mate becomes inconvenient? Rowan is quiet for a moment, watching the sunrise. Can I tell you about when I met Asher? I nod, grateful for the distraction. I was working in a terrible restaurant in the city, barely making rent. Asher came in one day, this powerful alpha, clearly wealthy, completely out of place in that dump. He asked me out, and I laughed in his face. Told him I wasn't interested in being some rich guy's temporary amusement. What changed your mind? He came back every single day for 2 months, Rowan says with a soft smile. Not pushing, not pressuring, just showing up, being consistent, proving through actions instead of words that he was serious. On day 63, I finally said yes to coffee. That was 3 years ago. So you're saying I should make Nelson work for it? I'm saying that words are easy, Ray. Anyone can make promises. What matters is whether they follow through. Rowan turns to face me directly. But I'm also saying that people can change. Etzel when they've lost something precious. That man I saw last night, he looked like someone who'd been through hell. That's not the face of someone who'll give up easily. After Rowan leaves, I sit for another hour watching the town come to life. Finally, I pull out my phone and call the motel. Room 12, Nelson answers on the first ring. Voice hoarse from sleeplessness. Meet me at Maple's Corner in an hour, I say before hanging up. When I arrive at the diner, Mrs. Hemsworth takes one look at my face and simply squeezes my shoulder. Take the back booth, honey. I'll make sure you're not disturbed. Nelson arrives exactly on time, looking even more exhausted than yesterday. He's changed clothes, but still looks disheveled, as if getting dressed was an afterthought. When he slides into the booth across from me, I notice his hands are shaking. I've been thinking all night, I begin without preamble. And I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person who left the palace. These months alone, carrying this baby, building an eye from nothing. They've changed me. I'm stronger now. I won't accept being hidden or treated as less than. I wouldn't ask you to, he says quickly. Ray, I meant everything I said last night. I want you by my side, openly. I want our child to bear my name officially. I am the world to know you're mine. And when the elders object, when they remind you about bloodlines and traditions and political necessities, then they can find themselves a new king. His voice is steel. I've already drafted my abdication papers. They're sitting on my desk in the palace. One word from you that you won't return and I'll sign them and walk away from the throne. Forever. I search his face for any sign of doubt or deception and find none. You would really do that? Ray, these 3 months taught me something crucial. I'm a terrible king without you. I snapped at advisors, made poor decisions, couldn't focus on anything except finding you. Harry noticed it first. He came to me 2 weeks after you left and said he couldn't marry someone who looked at him with empty eyes. He said whatever I'd lost, I needed to find it again before I destroyed myself and the kingdom. Harry said that. Nelson nods. He's actually been helping me search for you, using his family's connections, putting out discreet inquiries. When we finally got a lead that someone matching your description was in Riverton, he's the one who convinced me to come alone rather than bringing guards. This information shifts something in my chest. Harry, whom I'd seen as my replacement, had actually been helping Nelson find me. I still love you, I admit quietly, the words feeling like both a relief and a risk. I never stopped, but love isn't enough, Nelson. I need guarantees. I need to know my mind will be protected, acknowledged, cherished, not treated as an embarrassment or political inconvenience. Then let me prove it to you. Nelson reaches across the table, his hand palm up an invitation. Come back with me, but on your terms. We'll call a full court assembly. I'll announce publicly that you're my chosen mate and our child is my heir. If anyone objects, they can challenge me directly. And Ray, I'm the strongest alpha in the kingdom. Nobody will dare. And if they do, then I'll defeat them, claim you before the entire kingdom, and any elder who continues to protest can be replaced. His jaw sets stubbornly. I've already identified several younger nobles who are more Hargis in their thinking. This is the 21st century. It's time the kingdom caught up. I want to believe him. Every cell in my body screams to say yes, to take this chance, to give our child the family they deserve. But fear still holds me back. I need one more thing, I say finally. Before I agree to anything, I need to hear you say it. Why? Why me? You could have anyone, someone with status, breeding, political collisions. Why fight so hard for a servant's son? Nelson's eyes meet mine, intense and unwavering. Because when I'm with you, I'm not an alpha king burdened with responsibilities. I'm just Nelson. You see me, really see me, not the crown or the power. You challenge me, make me laugh, make me think. Before you, I was existing. With you, I was living. These months without you have been a cold, empty existence. I don't want to just survive anymore. Ray, I want to live with you, with our child. That's why. The sincerity in his voice breaks through my final resistance. I place my hand in his. Okay, I whisper, let's go home. The journey back to the palace takes 2 days, and Nelson insists on driving himself rather than calling for a royal car. I want this time with you, he explains. And I understand what he means. These hours in the car, talking about everything and nothing, begin knitting together the torn pieces of our relationship. We stop at a small inn the first night, and Nelson books separate rooms without me having to ask. I won't push, he says softly. We rebuild trust slowly, at your pace. But that night, lying alone in an unfamiliar bed, I find myself missing his presence. Around midnight, I knock on his door. He answers immediately, clearly not having been asleep either. Can I just sleep here? I ask, feeling vulnerable. Not for anything else. You don't have to explain. He steps aside, letting me in. We lie on opposite sides of the bed, a careful distance between us, but just his presence soothes something anxious inside me. Tell me about the baby, he whispers into the darkness. Everything I've missed. So I do. I tell him about the morning sickness that lasted until month 4, about feeling the first kicks, about the midnight cravings for pickles and ice cream. I tell him about Mrs. Hemsworth and Rowan and building a life in Riverton. He listens to everything, occasionally asking questions, and I can hear the regret in his voice for all the moments he missed. I'm so sorry, he says finally. You should never have gone through any of that alone. No, I agree. But we can't change the past. We can only move forward. When we arrive at the palace, I'm shocked to see Harry waiting at the entrance. He approaches as we exit the car, and I tense, unsure what to expect. Ray, he says with a genuine smile. I'm glad Nelson found you. Truly, I thank you. I manage, confused by his warmth. For helping him search, Nelson told me. It was the least I could do. Harry glances at Nelson. I assume you'll be calling a council meeting? Tomorrow morning. Nelson confirms. Every elder, every noble, every advisor. No more secrets. That night, Nelson gives me my own suite, not the hidden servants' quarters I once occupied, but rooms in the royal wing, right next to his own. Tomorrow we make everything official. He promises, but tonight, rest. You and the baby need it. The next morning, I'm awakened by servants bringing breakfast and formal clothes. His Majesty requests your presence in the throne room in 2 hours. One explains, the entire court has been assembled. My hands shake as I dress in the fine clothes provided. Deep blue silk that accommodates my pregnant belly. Clothes befitting someone of status rather than a servant. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. Nelson comes to escort me, personally, linking his arm through mine. Ready? He asks. Terrified. I admit, me too, he says with a slight smile. But we're facing this together. The throne room falls silent when we enter. Every important person in the kingdom stands in attendance. Elders, nobles, military commanders, foreign ambassadors. I see shock on many faces as they take in my obvious pregnancy. Nelson leads me to stand beside the throne, not behind it but next to it in a position of equal importance. He doesn't sit but remains standing, my hand firmly in it. I have an announcement, Nelson begins, his voice carrying authority throughout the vast room. Ray is my chosen mate, The child he carries is my heir and will be recognized as such officially. Anyone who objects may step forward now. The silence is deafening. Then the head elder, a stern man named Aldrich, steps forward. Your Majesty, this violates every tradition. Then we change the traditions. Nelson interrupts sharply. I am your king. Ray is my mate. Our child is the heir. These are facts, not discussions. You may accept them willingly, or you may challenge my right to rule. Choose now. Aldrich looks around, clearly hoping for support but finds none. Nobody is willing to directly challenge Nelson's authority, especially not when he's making his stance so aggressively clear. Then Harry steps forward from where he'd been standing among the nobles. I support King Nelson's decision completely. Love should never be sacrificed for politics. Ray and his child are the rightful royal family. His public support seems to break the dam. Several younger nobles murmur agreements. One by one, people begin to bow, first in acknowledgement of Nelson's authority, then in acceptance of his decree. Ray, Nelson says, turning to face me fully. Before all these witnesses, I claim you as my mate, my partner, and my equal. Will you accept? Tears stream down my face as I nod. Yes, I accept. He kisses me then, in front of everyone, making our bond undeniably public. The room erupts in applause, some enthusiastic, some merely polite, but all in acknowledgement of this new reality. The following months pass in a blur. The palace doctors monitor my pregnancy closely. Nelson attends every appointment, his hand always finding mine during examinations. Rowan and Asher visit twice, delighted to see how things worked out. Even Miss Hemsworth makes the journey, bringing a handmade blanket for the baby. You done good, honey, she tells me, patting my cheek. Real good. When I go into labor, it's Nelson who stays by my side through every moment, never leaving even when the doctors suggest he might prefer to wait outside. When our twins finally arrive, two healthy boys with their father's strong features and my softer coloring, he cries openly. They're perfect, he whispers, holding both babies carefully. You're perfect. This is everything I never knew I needed. We name them Marcus and Julian. Strong names for future leaders, though we agree they'll have the freedom to choose their own paths. That first night with our family complete, lying in bed with babies sleeping in their cradles nearby, Nelson pulls me close. I will spend every day making sure you never regret giving me a second chance. He murmurs against my hair. I know, I reply, because I do know. He's proven himself through actions, not just words. We made it through the hardest part. Now we just get to be happy. Just happy, he agrees, smiling. What a beautiful concept. And in that moment, surrounded by the family we fought so hard to protect, I finally feel complete. The journey was painful, but it led us here to love, to acceptance, to a future we'll build together. This isn't just an ending, it's our beginning.